is Sunday afternoon, the 11th of April, 2021. I'm having a look at the major commodities and just having a look at the calendar for the week ahead. Not really expecting much to impact metals, perhaps maybe just Fed Powell speaking, and that's 5 p.m. this coming Wednesday. That'll be UK time, and otherwise, then having a look at this in terms of energy impact. So these are sort of high impact news that may perhaps create some spikes in through the energy sectors. That will be mostly out on Wednesday late afternoon. And that's pretty much it. So not expecting too much volatility from it this week. And I think let's go to the charts. Let's see kind of what's going on there. Okay, so starting off with gold, we've now got a confirmed uptrend. We've got high lows, high highs. We've got a nice little double bottom rejection of that 1680 level. Very nice, very crisp. We've got nice sort of bullish indicators. Actually, the RSI is a little bit dull, but overall sort of more bullish than bearish. We've got very nice sort of bullish candles rejecting here on the weekly. And again, until we really get much higher than this, we're effectively range bound. We're stuck below that sort of 1750 level, around about there. We do have that confirmed downtrend on the monthly. And so this is really what I'm going to be looking for in terms of the longer term picture. I want to see gold back over 1800. I'd love to see this monthly candle form a swing low, get us back over that 1800 level, and that then could potentially give a little bit of a clue as to what the longer term intention for gold is. This week, however, noting that we are on a downtrend on the weekly, technically, I mean, no, that's not true. We actually have a high, low, high, high, but we have only just retraced back into perhaps this previous level of support that's now resistance and back into the moving averages. Therefore, it is still possible it could take another run to the downside. It could take another run at 1680. So there's a bit of a conflict there. And so again, what I'll be looking for early part of this week is to see gold get over this initial daily level at 1764, just back above that level. And then a big win for me would be back up above 1800. And so that's what is going to be that's on my trade plan this week. If it actually doesn't do that, it just subsequently starts coming back down to the bottom of this range, and therefore it's kind of this weekly part playing out where it's sort of effectively starting to come down, maybe starting to get weaker. There's just not enough buyers above that level. Then obviously I'll adjust accordingly. I'm not really expecting any great trading opportunities. So the fact that I'm doing an analysis on it is really just to highlight why I would not trade it as opposed to why I would potentially trade it. Looking at silver. Silver is similar to gold in the sense that it's got that weekly downtrend. It could potentially come up to that 26 level to test that for resistance. It's got a daily downtrend. It's in the right area here to continue lower. There's a bit of a level there at 25 as well to see if we kind of break a little bit lower from that. On a monthly basis, we had that really nice double top there where we rejected that level twice. And we producing a bit of a small bullish candle here again in this kind of in the moving averages here, and therefore a break above this or closing above that 26 level supports the idea of actually a build up over time that could potentially then result in a breakout, which would be later in the year. So very early days to be commenting on this, because that would be 6 to 10 candles away. So it really would be either towards the end of the year or early next year if we're going to get that breakout to this level, if it forms a breakout pattern. And so, okay, again here, technically, there is a lot of reason, there's a lot of signs that this could potentially head lower, but I want to see how it plays out. Okay, copper here looking a little bit more bearish. That looks like they wants to test that 4,000 level again, or coming down to that 4.0000 level again. It's got a bearish weekly candle. Not a great formation here. However, we did actually produce a swing low on the weekly within an uptrend, and so that's relatively nice and bullish. We are overextended and producing some inside candles. Okay, so this is effectively kind of a potential breakout pattern forming here as well in terms of whether it breaks to the downside or to the upside. But this, as it's overextended, hasn't come back to the moving averages. At some point, to move lower down to align itself with 3.6, 3.5, 3.45 would make a lot of sense, and for it to do that. So this week, again, I'll be looking to see if we do break lower. That'll just support the idea that that monthly is looking to do a bit of a retracement and a bit of a correction. So interesting there. There's valid ideas or reasons, explanations as to why it could head lower. Then having a look, say, at platinum. So platinum, again, just a bit of odd spiky price action here. Although it is in an uptrend, a bit of a retracement is not a bad thing. It's trying to break up above. There's a lot of weakness in this area. So there's just not enough buyers to be able to pull this over the line and even get up to 1275, which is the next level. So there are buyers below this point. There are buyers below 1.2, just not really enough, sort of, let's say, above 1.220 to really pull it up. It has an uptrend on the daily. So interesting again. If it is bullish, then I'll get a nice bullish candle probably on Monday and get it to climb higher throughout the rest of the week. So it'll produce a swing low off this level of supports and start to climb higher. However, I think that if it does drop below this, and especially if it breaks this previous low, then that longer term time frame starts to look way more bearish. And so that then supports the idea again of that kind of weaker metals, so to speak. What else here? We've got Palladium. So Palladium has obviously finally had a really nice breakout through that resistance patch. That was overall, that's a great bullish signal. And then it's just wobbling again. So now it's coming back up into these old highs around that 2650 level, 27 level up here. And it's starting to struggle a bit, but overall, again, still more bullish. And I'd love to see again that weekly, have the weekly do a bit of a pullback to 2.5 and then continue upwards. But it's also wobbling a bit. So not a lot in terms of kind of activity from metals right now. There is really an argument to be made for why the monthly might do a little bit of a retracement, or we would do a retracement on the daily, a downtrend, a little bit of a move down that would fall in line with the monthly doing a bit of a correction. And then, of course, there's that argument to be made for kind of the longer term trend on quite a few of these being bullish to the upside, and therefore moves to the upside are kind of also there. But I think I'm going to look and see how we get, how we're impacted by this week and how that starts to play out. Okay, then having a look at oil. So one of the things I was looking at here, this is looking at West Texas, and then looking at a potential breakout pattern. We've got sort of higher lows here and a flat level here, so there's slightly more buyers in the market than sellers, and a move up to test this level could produce a nice little bullish breakout pattern. We had this pullback into the moving averages on the weekly, a nice little bullish inside candle as well, which we failed to break above the high of. So what again, it kind of supports the idea there are sort of buyers above, or there were buyers at this point up until 60. They've started to evaporate, so prices started to slip below that level, and again that weekly has started to produce a bit of a bearish candle, which means if we break the low of the monthly charts, has produced a bit of that bearish candle. If we break the low of last month's candle, it implies a potential correction, retracement down to 54, and again similar to the metals. So it's not unique at this point in time, doesn't appear to be the case. I'm going to see if that actually is the case. That daily was looking same here, sort of looking at Brent looking nice and bullish, higher lows coming into the 65 level to form a potential bullish breakout pattern. On that weekly also wobbling, it should have followed through, so something has changed, subsequently comes back into the weekly, produces very nice kind of bullish swing low, and now is wobbling. Okay, and so it makes a lot of sense if we look at the monthly that there's that possibility for it to come back down. If it falls through 60, I would say that it starts to make sense. We're going to see this head down towards 53. So I guess to recap as we go, I'm just similar to metals. I'm kind of going to be watching breaks to the downside to see if there's some of that strength. So if all that strength has evaporated. Like Crude and West Texas producing similar stories here. Basically, I think the key thing to take away from this is that prices started to close lower, and therefore those kind of buyers below this level have started to evaporate. And the implication for that being is it's not necessarily as strong as it looked. And if we break these lows here, that kind of monthly swing low, the low of the monthly candle, last month's candle, then we start to, that implication is that we'll get a bit of a correction. Might be a small one, might just be down to 55, which is really not that far away, but that starts to look like a real valid possibility. Then on to the digital commodities. So having a look at Bitcoin here, overall this is still pushing upwards. It's now no doubt just ridiculously overextended, but that doesn't mean that it can't just keep going. But I'm just noting that we had a bit of a kind of, if we go back to February, we closed almost halfway down. Then throughout March we closed higher, but we didn't really break too much new ground. And again, the current monthly candle so far is still an inside indecision candle, so to speak. So 60,000 is showing itself to be a formidable level, but that actually makes sense. This particular commodity is super overdue for a bit of a correction down towards 40,000, 30,000. A nice little, 50% or 618 retracement is perfectly acceptable. It's gone to some degree, it's gone parabolic, so any kind of a correction in that area is perfectly acceptable. But I have to say, that aside, the monthly, if I ignore the monthly, the weekly is looking really nice and bullish, but you can see it's battling with that 60 level, and you can see the daily is also nice and bullish, got an uptrend here battling with that particular level. Okay, so really just the point being is that for me, in terms of trading opportunities, it's incredibly high risk, because although I would be leaning bullish, I could tell that it's kind of had a long run on the monthly and is kind of due for a bit of a correction there. And certainly for me, I wouldn't be buying now, because I'd be buying it feels like I'd be buying at the top. We've seen it kind of, but I have to say, obviously this year we've seen it kind of push on and broke through 40,000, then through 50,000, through 60,000. So I've kind of seen this story before. Certainly what it could do is just consolidate before pushing higher, but it can't escape the fact that this monthly has become overextended, so that's a valid concern. By comparison, Ethereum has now managed to catch up. So, Ethereum closed a lot lower and has not really had as much love as Bitcoin has. This one has started to push a lot higher. That weekly looks really good, doesn't look overextended at all. So it's just a monthly again that looks as though we're starting to head into that sort of parabolic territory. And the daily also here in a nice little uptrend. So again, my same analysis, just high risk for me in terms of trading opportunities this coming week, and really, but no signs of this of extreme bearishness at all in terms of exhaustion. Not seeing any signs of exhaustion, just the fact that price action has gone the way it has. And so actually I should recap that, I should say, on both Bitcoin and Ethereum. No real signs of massive exhaustion. So not seeing that yet. I'm just saying that it is parabolic on the monthly, and that the weekly and dailies look quite bullish. But because of that overextension and some of them Bitcoin battling with that level, just means I'm extremely cautious about looking for trading opportunities on those. Okay, and that's it from me on commodities.